What's up, everybody? This is your boy RFRD97 with another episode of Richie Spots. And today we got a pretty good amount of topics to talk about. Probably within the same realm of the two topics I have listed in the little sign that you see. Um, what we're going to talk about is Rayman 4 got leaked. And yes, I know I'm late to that party, but it was something that I have wanted to talk about, but I had just never given any thought, or I have thoughts about it, but I just never really put it together into a video. So we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna talk about anti-poke fans being fucking morons, but I realize at this point that's just kind of redundant. But I figured might as well because I don't think I think I did one episode before, but this one seemed kind of like something to bring up, so I might as well. And we're gonna talk about some other shit regarding Rayman and a little bit of Crash Bandicoot, maybe, but that's all there is to it. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it um, because otherwise we just be here forever. So let's go ahead and talk about Rayman 4 being leaked because that was the first thing that I've really wanted to talk about since December, somewhere around there. I think that was when the whole source code got leaked and shit. So basically, for those that don't know, and for those that aren't familiar with Rayman and whatever, Rayman 4, well, actually, let's start from the beginning. Let's not just explain the whole leak thing of Bob. Let's talk about the actual origins of Rayman 4. And if you want a better explanation, of the whole story behind Rayman 4 and why it got reworked to the party game that everyone knows now, and how it happened, and what was worked on, etc., etc. I recommend you guys go check out Frame Raider. He is a very good YouTuber. I enjoy his content, and he did like a nearly an hour video on the whole matter, and he has made follow-up videos regarding the prototype, which you're seeing some of the images right now. So I will give his link to the channel, his channel, in the description box down below, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I will link that stuff down below. And I'll be sure to update the description from the last video so I can put in the Pokepod stuff. Because I know some of you guys were asking to join the server. So I'll go ahead and do that as well. Because I knew I would fucking forget. Okay, so let me explain Rayman 4's origins. So Rayman 4 obviously was intended to be the sequel to Rayman 3. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, 4 comes after 3. So there you go. The origins of it were kind of weird. Basically, it was supposed to... There were two routes. There were two routes with Phoenix Interactive Entertainment. They were going to make their own Rayman 4 while Ubisoft was working on the King Kong game. And while Ubisoft was working on the King Kong game, Phoenix Interactive Entertainment, or Phoenix Studios, they would have worked on the supposed Rayman 4. And the way that it was going to be worked on was that it was going to be one of those revisited games, meaning like Rayman would have revisited some of his old lands from the past, the same ones from Rayman 1, and like a more different approach. Not the same exact area, but some different objectives here and there. But that never really happened because Ubisoft ended up having more time. And they were supposed to, I guess, work on the game, question mark. So then afterwards, once that Phoenix Interactive Entertainment project got shelved or canceled at that point, Rayman Raving Rabbits, the prototype, the original Rayman Raving Rabbits, was being worked on, and then at some point it got canceled and got reworked into the party game that we all know and love. That is probably the most very basic explanation I could give without going to further much detail. And I again recommend you guys check out Frame Raider's video about it. He does a very good job of diving further into it with sources, images, audio, etc., etc. But the materials at the time that you could possibly dig up to go find that stuff. So yeah, let's get right into it. So Rayman 4's source code / engine whatever got leaked in December, and people started digging the fuck out of it, meaning like they dug into the game, they looked into the models, they looked into the levels that were accessible, they looked into everything. And this game was meant to be a lot more than what we saw from the trailer that we got, the images and shit that we got from it that were available to us to the public. It was meant to be a lot more, and it's super sad to see that this game. It was super sad to see this game just not coming to fruition. Because I think it would have been one of the most amazing games I probably would have ever played. It would have been a really great open world type of game, which I felt like that this game was really trying to aim for. And I think it would have been one of the most ambitious projects that I think Ubisoft would have been definitely would have taken on. So I'm definitely a little bit disappointed in that regard that this game was not able to come to fruition. But again, the whole reason for why that never happened, it's all explained in Frame Raiders video, so go check that out. So basically, the whole point of Rayman 4 being leaked is people, like I said, dug into it and they saw like a whole bunch of levels. Well, not obviously all the levels, because some of the levels aren't even accessible. But they looked at, the cutscenes that were available there. They were looking at character models. They were looking at the areas that you could access. They were looking at possibly everything that you could look for in a build like this, in a prototype where, like I said, there was models of the characters, animation, etc., etc. And that was when people started to connect dots to the point where they started to figure out, that this game, like I said, was intended to be a lot more because of everything going on. Which, again, was to be an invasion led by the Raving Rabbids. So, my opinion about Rayman 4 getting leaked is that it just makes me sad to see that this game could have been really great. I definitely feel like it could have been great. Based on the images that we see here, even this one right now, I feel like this game could have been one of the greatest games that Ubisoft has ever made. I'm just going to be straight up with you guys about that. I'm not saying it because it's just Rayman, but I'm just saying it literally because of the way of how ambitious the project was, the way that everything was set to be, and the way that these interactions would have worked based on what we see in the prototype, and all these other things. I definitely feel like it would have been one of the more funner games to ever play. And technically, you could still play the game to some degree. I mean, it's obviously unfinished, so you can't, obviously finish the game from start, to finish in like an organic fashion that you would normally expect to do it from. But I have played a little bit of it because I ended up downloading the whole prototype, and yeah, I totally agree. I think it would have been fun. Being able to play War of the Worlds, aka that one fucking famous trailer that everybody knows of this game. I think just being able to do that after so many years of watching the trailer, just somehow one day thinking the one day I'll be able to play this, it'd be one of the greatest days of my life, and that was true. It was, yes, I know the prototype level is obviously very different from like a finished games level, because where a finished game is just more polished, you're able to do a lot more. There's no issues of like incomplete stuff here and there, but I think that it just would have been awesome. It just would have been awesome. But the opportunity to still play regardless of the state of the build, it's still very nice, and it just makes me sad to see that that this game didn't come to fruition, unfortunately. And there are not talks as of Ubisoft doing this, because that would require Ubisoft to be a good company, and apparently that's not what we're aiming for when they were doing that. But what I mean by talks is that there were talks before, way back then, about potentially them doing this again, but they obviously never ended up doing that. So there's, it's just kind of sad. So I think Rayman 4 would have been obviously one of the greater games that Ubisoft has ever produced. But I'm going to go as far as to say that I think this Rayman 4, Raving Rabbits, I think this would have been like the greatest Rayman game ever played or ever made. And the reason why I say this is because it would have been very ambitious. It would have been, it would have had its fair share of darkness, because clearly you could tell that the game was going for a more darker tone with the implications and the plot and the way that everything was really going to go on about in terms of the interaction. But I also think this game would have retained some of the lightheartedness that we saw heavily in the actual party game, because I think there were some moments in the prototype and from what we know from it that would have provided those ones. So I think this game would have done a great job of serving both those aspects. So it's just sad to see. Like I said, I know I'm repeating myself when I say it, but it's just so sad to see that this game just didn't come to fruition at all. I think if this game had came out the way it did, fully completed, fully finished, I think it would have been nice to see it out in the forefront, and I think it would have been one of the greater games that we would have gotten at that time. This game was intended to have come out in 2006. It's pretty much around the same time that the party game released, but but unfortunately though that never happened. And it's not to say that the party game was shit or anything. I never thought the party game was shit. I thought the party game was really fun. I mean, hell, it's one of my most played PS2 games ever. So clearly, I don't have any bad opinions about the party game. But I didn't realize that the party game was not, the actual final intended version of the game. It wasn't until like a little later when I started seeing trailers of Rayman 4, this Rayman 4, and just seeing like what could have been. Then I was just like super confused as to what the fuck happened. And then, obviously there was not much more to see after that because, we just didn't see it. It was just that simple. But obviously the Rayman community has done a great job of finding like information throughout the game's files, because there were some stuff left over in the game's files that were pertaining to this prototype, that were not necessarily character models, but just basically level information, certain sounds, certain animations, etc., etc. I think that would have, that would have been like great information back then, but I don't think it was dug up until like a little bit later down the road when people started to become more, I guess, aware of the mere existence of that. So it's unfortunate to say the least. But it is what it is. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think all I have really left to say about Rayman 4 being leaked is that I'm glad it got leaked, because then we could finally we could then finally play a bit of what was supposed to be this great prototype of a game. I give a massive shout out to the Rayman community, including May the Goof. I'm super sorry for botching that name or even forgetting the name, but shout outs to that person, and the other community members are also working on this to making it a stable build, restore some of the shit that was gone. Now obviously there are some things they can't obviously bring back or restore, but they're working hard on making a more stable build of the game that most of us can play, and just being able to have more accessibility within the prototype, so that way we can really experience of what this game would have been like to play. So it's gonna take a while for that to really come to fruition fully, but regardless I'm super happy about that, because that just means we are a bit more closer to really experiencing what this whole game would have been like. So I'm definitely super happy about that, and I cannot wait to see more of the progression of the build, and I will be downloading every update to it, so that way I can really fully experience as to what this game could have been. So I'm super happy about that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Rayman 4. There's more Rayman stuff to talk about, but I'll talk about that a little later down the road. So yeah, let us go on ahead to the next topic, which is Anipro fans are fucking idiots. Okay. I know people are going to be super confused about that, so let me explain. So basically, the thing I noticed within Aim to be a Pokemon Master, which is the for those that don't know, which is a mini series of I think up to 12 episodes or 11 of Ash Ketchum's final set series of episodes, where basically after that he is done as the main character, because as we all know, once April rolls around, or whenever it is, I think it is April, when April rolls around, when the Scarlet and Violet anime comes out, he'll be replaced by another main protagonist that will take over as the main character, which is Rico, as you know, we've already talked about that in a separate episode. Basically that's the whole point in the 11 episode series, is that Ash is going through his typical Pokemon journeys, doing what he always does best, connecting with the hearts of the Pokemon, solving the episode's mystery, and etc., etc. And the thing that's rather consistent that we've seen since episode 1 is Latias popping up at the end of every episode. I mean, granted, Latias had like a big part in the first one, but ever since the end of episode one, you always see Latias just in his in its disappearing mirage form, I guess, or invincible form, just watching over Ash. And a lot of people are speculating that this could lead to a potential capture of Ash catching Latias at the end of the series when it's all said and done. And I don't. I could see that happening, but at the same time, I also don't want to put too much stock into it because it leads into one of the things I want to talk about with the fans. So I'll leave it until then. But it could lead to a potential capture, and who knows? Who knows if that will happen? Who knows? So let me explain why I think anime fans are idiots. So a lot of the things I've been noticing on Twitter when it comes to fan reception of the series, right, is that a lot of people on there are starting to become like the police. And when I mean by police, I mean just off the fact that it seems like if you have any criticism of Journeys or just this mini series, no matter if it's a valid one, no matter if it's a bad one. I mean, hey, bad criticism is bad criticism. If your criticism is, like I said, or good or bad, it's valid, not valid, very analytical, not analytical, etc., etc. It seems like if you have a certain opinion about this specific meta series of Journeys / the miniseries in any sort of capacity that triggers a certain part of the fan base, it seems like to me that you are frowned upon, you are called an idiot, you are called basically somebody with high expectations, you are called an X and Y, diamond and pearl, stam, whatever, depending on the person, I guess, etc., etc. So they will basically just kind of tear you down from having like that opinion. And the thing I never understood is that why are people just fucking triggered over the fact that, hey, not everybody's gonna like this fucking little mini series and shit. And some people are just like, oh, well, that person had too much high expectations. It's like, I don't think it has anything to do with high expectations, honestly. I think it just goes with the fact that I think it just goes with the fact that people just don't seem to respect other opinions. Like I just think that's what it comes down to. It comes down to the fact that when people see an opinion or a thought that they don't like, they just get fucking triggered. They just get fucking triggered, and they think the best way to go on about it is just make that is to look down upon the person. Like let me put this for example. I could say right now on Twitter or in the conversation setting that I think this episode of Aim to Be a Pokemon Master, this latest one, even though yes there were some things I liked about it. I mean obviously Oshawott being there, as we all know, is the greatest. So shout out to Mr. Oshawott. And then obviously my favorite legendary Pokemon Kyurem. Yes, while it was a mention, I still like the fact that it was mentioned and it was kind of relevant to some degree in the episode. It was nice to see, and just seeing Ash being the cheeky, cheerful, always supportive, positive mindset guy with the Pokemon. That was obviously one of the things I liked about it. But it's not anything special because we've seen Ash do that throughout many years and seasons of the Pokemon anime. I mean, that's just how it is. But I could literally go in there and say, hey, I thought this episode was pretty meh. I could have been better in some aspects, but I did enjoy the episode to some in the things I did like about it. So it's a, let's say, 6 out of 10 or whatever. So I could say that right now in a conversation setting in any poke, and if somebody was that fucking triggered, they will go out of their way and just call me a stand of whatever series I rep and just call me biased as fuck, this and that, just to pretty much anything to tear me down. And if you don't believe me, look at Lumiose trainer Zach's tweet where he literally just said Pokemon aim to be a mid master or some shit like that. So basically his opinion of this series is just meh. That's just all there is to it. Meh. And people got fucking mad about that. Like a good amount of people got mad about it. We had like a few people call him like a massive X and Y stand, or oh, why does he get to have a voice, blah blah blah. Like people got really fucking bothered by the fact that he had like that opinion about the meta series. And it's like one person was saying like, oh well, that's what happens when you have your expectations too high. And it's just like, it has nothing to do with his expectations being too high. I can literally have low expectations of aim to be a Pokemon Master, the miniseries, and I can still think it's fucking mid. Like, it's not me thinking it's mid and me having high expectations for it. They're not mutually exclusive. Like, I don't understand how that's a conclusion that people reach on the fucking internet. Like, I seriously don't understand. And I know there's been like some bad apples from each of the fucking region animes, and by that region animes, I'm talking about like Cancel fans, Johto fans, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, Alola, and I guess technically Galar, but we're gonna call it Journey fans because obviously Journeys doesn't have like a set region, so we're just gonna call it Journeys. I am very full aware that each of the anime stops have their toxic fans, and obviously there are some pretty popular ones. Like for example, I think it's pretty clear to say that X and Y, Sun and Moon, and Journeys, those are the three that people talk about a lot when it comes to the toxicity of those respective fan bases, and some of the more infamous people that have come from either or. But I think it's just funny to see that some Journey fans on Twitter talk about like, oh, they're like the more pure, clear ones or whatever, and I'm just like, you motherfuckers instigate a lot of the shit in the community. So I don't think that's, first of all, I don't think that's pure. I don't think that's clear. I don't think that's intended to be positive. You literally start a fire, and then you get upset when somebody tries to take out the fire by just simply, like I said, dousing it in water and just stopping the fire. Like, you attend that fire to be a wildfire, and when somebody says no, don't do that, trying to be better about this, they get super triggered about it. They just do. Well, not everybody, but most people that I've seen on Twitter, the ones that always get famous for these arguments, that's literally their mindset. So, but yeah, I just think they're fucking idiots, because I'm just tired of like seeing most of these fans just having this much of a disrespect over the opinion of, oh well, I think this person's shit because they didn't like this episode of a series I really like, so they must not know what they're talking about. It's like no, they just simply didn't like the episode because they just didn't like it. Like, if they didn't like it because of this and that, no matter how stupid it is, we can't change their mind. And I could disagree with somebody about like, their opinion about like, a certain character I like, or a certain Pokemon or whatever, and they could just say whatever. At the end of the day, I could provide my 2 cents as to why I think their opinion is wrong, but I'm not going to be an asshole about it. Like, it just doesn't make sense, because what am I going to get out of that? The fact that, oh, I told somebody that their opinion was shit. Oh, that makes me feel good. It's like, no, that doesn't really change anything. The only thing that really did was that you were just as aggressive as that person was. And does that really fix anything? No, not really. It really doesn't. So yeah, I think my overall opinion about this is that I just think a lot of the Anime fans are just fucking mentally deranged, including myself. so it's not like I'm clear of it either. But hey, I at least I can admit it, right? But yeah, I think most of these people are idiots. A lot of these people don't understand like that. Hey, a person can think that this miniseries is mid, and that's okay. I really don't care personally, because I'm not going to lose sleep over it, because I'm still going to enjoy what I want to enjoy in terms of an anime. I'm going to enjoy the characters that I enjoy because of, what they've done in terms of development and stuff. But what I'm certainly not going to do is be like those people that just somehow be miserable when it comes to certain opinions within the fandom. It was their shit over it. So hey, if they think Journeys is shit, but they like fucking X and Y better, then fuck it. Who the fuck cares? If you're being this upset about an animated series, I can't wait to see you being upset about like shit that actually matters in our lives, So so yeah. Overall, I think all I'm gonna say on this one is just respect other people's opinions. If they're being an asshole to you, don't fucking make it. Don't fucking make it any worse, because what ends up happening is that it then goes into a very mentally deranged fight that you don't want to be a part of. And if you're egging it on, then you're literally part of the problem. So just be respectful. Don't be stupid about it. And just know when not to. Just know when not to go for it. You know what I mean? Just don't. Just don't. It's really not fucking worth it, guys. It's really not fucking worth it. Um, just be respectful. Just know how to know when to leave the conversation. And if you do get into an analytical discussion where there ends up being disagreements about like, hey, this episode is crap because of this reason. It's like, no, this episode clearly states that, this and that, so it's not shit off of that. Like, if we're gonna have an analytical discussion, guys, just be respectful. Just don't resort to the whole police mentality. Just be respectful about it. And if clearly the person's not intending to have like an actual conversation, a fact or whatever, just don't make it a big deal. Just fucking leave the conversation and just go on about it. Just go about your life. And if they're being a legitimate piece of shit to you, harassing you, whatever, then at that point you just put them on the burner and just fucking grill their asses. But I'm just tired of seeing my people getting fucking quote tweeted on Twitter where they can literally say, "Hey, I think this episode was shit, but if people like it, that's okay." I just hate seeing that kind of tweet be quote tweeted on Twitter, only to then have somebody get super super upset about it, and then they, get their fucking followers to harass the shit out of that person, until they feel bad about it. And it's just like, you guys do realize that doesn't make you the better character, right? Like, I just being completely honest with you guys. Like, that doesn't make you the better character. It just doesn't. It really doesn't. So, I don't know. If I have any more thoughts about this topic, I'll probably revisit it later in the episode, or maybe I'll make a separate video about it. I have no fucking idea. But yeah, overall, just be better people. Just be better. Don't be fucking idiots. That's all. But yeah, on to the next topic that I have, which is Rayman. More Rayman. So, why I wanted to talk about more of Rayman is that, because for some of you that know, he's gonna be in the DLC for Mario Rabbids, the latest game that came out, and unfortunately, it's not the first DLC to come out. Sorry, I had to drink some soda. His DLC doesn't come out until late 2023, which is obviously this year, but we don't have like an official month, date, or anything like that. All we know is that it comes out later this year, and I'm obviously very super happy about it, because first of all, the tease was super unexpected. I screamed out of my fucking lungs when I saw Rayman, and then when I saw his whatchamacallit, once I saw the new design that they gave him, once they fully revealed it, I thought it was super fucking cool. I thought it was awesome. They retained pretty much like the same kind of design, ironically, like this one, where it was still the same shoes, but except there's like some little detail below the shoes, so it's not just like a flat white. So there's a bit of detail with that. His sweater, I guess hoodie, whatever. Do we call it like a sweater with a hoodie? Fuck it. Let's just call it a sweater with a hoodie. His sweater with a hoodie, whatever. Has like pockets in it, so he could put his hands in there. I thought that was pretty cool. So basically, Rayman got like Rayman's design for the upcoming DLC is more modernized with some nice minor features here and there. And I highly doubt for a character with this much of a popular community. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that Rayman has more of a popular community than, like, let's say, Mario, Sonic, or even maybe Crash Bandicoot for that matter. Although I feel like both Crash Bandicoot and Rayman have like equal fan bases in terms of the vocalness, the support that each community gets, and et cetera, et cetera. I think they're very similar in that aspect. Even though Crash has been more the popular trend of things, because obviously Crash has more of a successful history of games, and its resurrection proved a clear example that the fan base is still here, and they're very very vocal, supportive of the direction of the series, I would imagine. Well, I'm not saying that every fan has been supportive of that direction, but I'm saying like most have been. Not all, but most. what does I say? Oh yeah. So my point is that basically I don't think they made the design exclusively just for the DLC. I have thoughts that because again, I for as much as a popular character Rayman is, I highly doubt that they made this model with the intention of just only having Rayman for this DLC and then that was it. I think with the fact that they made this brand new model, which I think would be a complete fucking waste just for this DLC. And yes, I know about the whole they made a new design for just the Smash 4 trophy and stuff, but I feel like both those scenarios are different. You're talking about Smash 4 where Rayman was still around a bit. Like I think around that time when did Smash 4 come out? Let me take a look. Take a look. 4 release dates. Smash 4 came out in September 2014. When did Rayman Legends come out? Rayman Legends, which was the last main Rayman platformer, came out in August 29th of 2013. And Smash 4 came out in September 13th of 2014. So basically a year later, after August of that following year. That was when there we go. That was when the release date window was. So Rayman Legends came out 2013 and Smash 4 came out the year later, which is when they posted that trophy. So Rayman was still relatively active around that time because obviously the game was still fresh in people's minds. People can just go back to the game and play it, and this was all on the Wii U, which is where a lot of the features for Rayman Legends was there. And if you guys remember, ironically, one of the things that they had in one of the trailers was the little amiibo thing where you could put it on the touchpad, and then when you put it on the touchpad, shit pops up on the screen. They did that with the fucking Rabbids, and people freaked out because it was like Rayman and the Rabbids together again. It's like, fuck, did we not learn our lesson? So, and then obviously, they teased it with the Assassin's Creed thing, but I don't think that ever really became a thing, so whatever. But here's my point. I think that depending on the success of this DLC, which I think will be rather instrumental in his potential return, if this DLC sells like hotcakes and there's vocal support for the fact that Rayman's inclusion is in there, and considering the fact that this game has been relatively popular in sales and the game is really well liked in positive reviews, who's to say that Rayman wouldn't return? Because think about it, right? Rayman returning with this kind of jumpstart would be great. I mean, Crash Bandicoot didn't even fucking have this. Crash Bandicoot, literally, when he came back with his own revival. He didn't come back because of any DLC shit. He didn't come back because of new game matter. Well, technically, if we want to be technical, he kind of did with Skylanders, but the announcement of the Insane Trilogy came first before Skylanders. Although technically the Skylanders thing came out first beforehand. So I guess technically Skylanders had a hand in it, but the announcement of, like I said, Insane Trilogy came first before the release of that. So I guess, but they are similar paths if you think about it. Because let's think about it, right? Crash Bandicoot was in a side game that wasn't his own series, but he was in another popular franchise. Well, I mean, Skylanders was pretty popular at the time. Crash Bandicoot was in the side game. People were excited about it. It went on to his potential revival, and people got super excited for that. And a year later or so, it came out. So who's to say that it wouldn't happen with Rayman? Because think about it, right? He's in Mario Rabbids. Mario is without a doubt the most popular Nintendo character of all time when it comes to all franchises of video games. I think Mario is without a doubt the most popular video game franchise character of all time. You can make an argument for Pokemon being like the highest selling media franchise, but everyone knows more of Mario than they do Pokemon if you want to be that figurative. But I could be wrong. Who's to say that Rayman wouldn't follow that same path? Because again, the difference is that Rayman would be swatted in with a very popular Nintendo character, and then a series of characters like the Rabbids that literally came from his own existence. I think this is a really great scenario for Rayman, where he comes back into this, he does really well with his mechanics in the game and the way they set up his storyline. I'd be very surprised if we don't get like a new Rayman game within the next 5 years. And I say within the next 5 years because I want to give him like extended time and shit. And of course that means I have that would have faith in Ubisoft to actually pull this off. And you guys know how I feel about Ubisoft. So this must mean that I have faith in those guys to do it, which I kind of don't. But at the same time, I do hope, I do have a bit of slimmer of a hope that Ubisoft will be able to use their fucking eyeballs and ears to see and hear of the vocal support and everything of the Rayman fan base. That this DLC will be a massive success, which I think it will be because for a DLC for a massive popular game, it just seems logical to me. Um, I just think that if that happens, then we'll definitely get it for sure. Now, I don't think it's a thing that we're gonna. I don't think we're gonna get a Rayman game in 2024 because that would imply that they're working on it right now. I know the funny thing is that I know that there's the little mini series, TV. Well, not mini series, but like a TV show for Rayman. But I have not. We have not heard of anything about that since that little screenshot of like a presentation came out where it showed like his hair being a little bit different, but it was still Rayman in like a little mini tune like fashion. We have not heard of anything since then, so I don't know if the project itself got canceled or what happened. But who knows? Who knows? But before I end this topic specifically, I just think that if I just think if the DLC comes out to be successful, which I think it will be, if Rayman fans come out in vocal support and buying the DLC, supporting the character, and just doing what fan bases do to get their vocal support out there to the companies, which I think they will, I think it is undoubtedly safe to say that we'll probably get a new Rayman game within the next 5 years if that is going to happen. Now, the tricky question is, would people want it in the same fashion as Origins and Legends? Or would they want something like Rayman 4, where it's an open world 3D platformer? Now, my opinion is that I think they should just retain they should just go back to the second option, which is a open world 3D platformer. Make a game that's exclusively like Rayman Raven Rabbids, but just put in something else. Maybe instead of the rabbits, if they don't want to really revert them back to what they were supposed to be, maybe you could do something with the Robo Pirates again, where Razorbeard comes back and it's like a full-on invasion. Just pretty much have the same plot line, but just have the pirates, which I know would be kind of redundant because obviously Rayman 2 was pretty much that. But I think it would be a little bit different in terms of what you could do with the plot, in terms of like character interaction and how you set up these storylines and stuff. I'm just saying that if they don't want to if they don't want to do something like that where they just don't want to copy and paste the rabbits again, then I think they could just go back to the Robo Pirates and do something like that. Or what they could do is have like a tag team villain team, whatever the term is, and just have whatchamacallit, just have like fucking Razorbeard and Andre the Black Lum team up together and just fucking take down Rayman or something. But that's assuming they don't want to go back to the old rabbits, or not necessarily the old rabbits, but just have like the current version of the rabbits, but make them more evil. Obviously, the same version that they were intended to be in the original Rayman 4. So that's what I mean more specifically. So, but yeah, like I said, and I'll recap it one more time. Depending on the success of the DLC, and depending on how much vocal support and everything that Rayman gets in terms of, like I said, vocal support for his character, the fan base support, and how well, like I said, the DLC does, it could lead to a potential new game for Rayman. And considering that Crash Bandicoot followed that same pattern, I don't see how that couldn't be applicable for Rayman when I feel like they have similar fan bases in terms of support and in terms of just how how both fan bases go about supporting their character. So, all right, last topic for the episode. So I talked about Crash and Rayman, being in the Forerunner and stuff like that. There there, depending on how Rayman's Revival goes and how well, Rayman's Revival turns into DLC and whatever happens afterwards, which I already told you guys that I feel like that if his inclusion in DLC goes really well and the character is done excellent, I have no doubt in my mind that there'll be a Rayman game within the next 5 years, and depending on how well Crash Team Rumble does for a party game where I know it's gonna get a lot of attention and shit and just more gameplay, etc., and potentially outside characters of the franchise maybe joining in. Who's to say that in case there's a Smash 6 or even multiverses, who's to say that maybe both of them wouldn't be potential candidates? And there was a Papagino's video where he talks about like these characters being specifically, well, not specifically talked about to be worked on for the game, but in the video he did mention that Crash and Rayman were part of the discussion that they could potentially bring over, but it's nothing like, oh well, this character can appear because of this evidence here and there. It's more of like, hey, we could bring him over, but we'll see, type of deal. So if that is true, then that also helps with the idea that if both Crash and Rayman end up joining multiverses, maybe not at the same time, because I imagine that they're probably not going to do that, but if they join around that same time, well, like let's say Rayman joins before his DLC, or Crash joins right after Team Rumble. First of all, let's talk about the implications of that. As far as Crash Bandicoot, it could lead to better sales of Team Rumble. It could lead to better sales of Insane Trilogy and It's About Time. And as far as Rayman's concerned, it could lead to better sales of the DLC. It could lead to better vocal support for the character. So their inclusions in multiverses will be a no-brainer. Obviously, I would prefer both of them to be in there. I think that'd be fucking awesome. And think about it, right? Imagine Crash Bandicoot team up with fucking Shaggy. Imagine fucking Rayman teaming up with Batman. Imagine fucking Crash Bandicoot team up with Taz Taz. The little fucking cartoon character from Looney Tunes. Imagine fucking Rayman team up with Bugs Bunny. Imagine so much endless possibilities with the amount of characters in fucking multiverses. Just imagine those things. Just imagine those dreams coming together. Just because those two characters are in the game. I think, first of all, that would be fucking awesome. That would be fucking great. And I know I mentioned Smash in the topic, and I know for obviously we're more often likely not going to get a Smash for a while, if we are going to get one for a long time. But obviously, I think by that point, if there is going to be a new Smash in like let's say 3 to 4 years, I think by that point both of these characters will be relatively popular enough to the point where I think they'll be a no shit type of candidate to have. Just like it's a no shit type of candidate to have a fucking Fire Emblem character in there. So we'll see about that. And who knows? Maybe, and I say maybe they could be in a potential team up game. And by potential team up game, I'm talking about the type of game like Crash and Spyro, where they both teamed up for their own series. They both teamed up for a couple of games where Crash was in Spyro's universe, or Spyro was in fucking Crash's universe. They could do something like that for Crash and Rayman, where Crash is in Rayman's universe, or Rayman ends up being in in Crash's universe. Or what they could possibly do is have both of them in one universe. But then it ends up being like a It's About Time kind of deal where they go in between timelines and shit, or use like the masks where they can go in between the universes to go ahead and resolve the conflict of both universes, if it really comes down to it. Who really knows? But I say potential team up because I feel like a Crash and Rayman team up game would actually be really, really fucking awesome. Because you could do so much with gameplay elements. You could do so much with storylines. You could do so much with the gameplay mechanics. You could do so much with how, like I said, the plot could be set up and how these character interactions will work. That would be great. Do I think will happen? Probably not, because it's like let me re-explain. I think it could happen, but I just don't see. I see it more as like a pipe dream. I see it more as a pipe dream, and we'll just see what happens in regards to that. We will just see what happens in regards to that. So what else? I think that's pretty much it. I mean, all I have to really say left about the potential team up part is that I think they will both be a fucking great team up game. I think the storyline will be easier to execute. I think the character interactions won't be that hard to accomplish. I think setting up both villains, environments, and shit. I think both of them have like similar environments where you could really pull it off, regardless of whether or not it's in Rayman's universe or Crash's universe or wherever, basically, or maybe like this non-named universe where both of them are just so happen to be in it, but it's neither their worlds or anything. So who knows? So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys. That's all the topics I wanted to talk about here for today, which was I talked about the Rayman 4 being leaked, my opinions about that, and what could have been, sadly. And by the way, if you want to learn more about the origins of that said project, you could go check out Frame Raider's video about it, which I'll have in the description down below, the link to that video. I talk about anti-poke fans being absolute fucking morons and just, you know, being hypocritical of their own stances when it comes to their opinions, respecting others and shit. So I gave my opinions about that and how we could do better than that. And if you do happen to be in arguments like that, just try to be the better person and not stoop to their level if they're being disrespectful and shit like that. I talked about how Rayman could potentially come back if the success of the Mario Rabbids DLC that he's in or proves to be really successful. And depending on how there's, you know, that much vocal support and shit for the character, so that could depend on that too. I talked about Crash and Rayman's future prospects for Smash Brothers. There is going to be another Smash Brothers for multiverses as well. And I just talked about like the potential idea of their team up in a game together. Whether and when I say potential team up again, I'm not talking about in terms of like them being in multiverses and Smash and shit, because that's different. I'm talking about like in terms of, you know, they're both in a team up kind of game. And depending on how that could go in terms of like where it would be set up, what the plot would be, you know, etc., etc. I talked about what we could potentially expect for that if that is ever to be a fruition, or if that idea is going to come to fruition. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I have really nothing else to say left about it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys enjoyed today's podcast episode, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. To the video and to the channel. Don't forget to follow my content Twitter account, which is at rfriday97. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to my Twitch channel at rfriday97 and this YouTube channel. If you need to tell your friends and are too lazy to grab a link or just don't want to get a link, just tell them to go to the YouTube channel rfriday97. And I don't know why I called you guys lazy, because I'm the most laziest guy here, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, in all seriousness though, thank you for the support of the channel. If you've been watching the videos, it really means a lot to me. Keep liking the video, keep commenting on the video, share with your family and friends that are also into Pokemon, Crash Bandicoot, Rayman, all those video game franchises. Really appreciate the support, guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys later for another episode of stream of my content pipelines, and yeah. I'll see you guys next time for the next video / episode. Have a good day, everyone.